Welcome to Resourced and Resourceful Leadership, a podcast for people who care about the world and their impact in it. I'm Dr. Christine Pettit. Thank you for joining me today. I decided to switch up the intro music today because my daughter Ellie asked me if I wanted to include her playing the piano, which, of course, the answer is yes. If you stick around until the end, you'll hear the range of options she gave me. This one, option 4, was our favorite. The other ones are pretty great too. At the end of the last episode, I was tired and feeling a bit down. When I listened to it the next day, I could hear the weariness in my voice. I did want to pull on one last thread, for now anyway, from last week's episode, Beyond the Single Leader. I read an LA Times article last week where Flor Martinez Zaragoza, she's a chief executive and founder of the Celebration Nation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to empowering the indigenous Latino community across California. In her interview, she said, "I stand with survivors." She said that, and she also asked, when they take down statues, who is holding people accountable to make sure they are putting up statues of farm workers? If they're removing certain inserts from history textbooks, who's making sure they're not erasing the whole farm worker movement? That question is one that has stayed with me from both that article and also some of the conversations I mentioned in the last episode with friends as well. How do we tell history in an honest and inclusive way? And I also want to add in there an age-appropriate way. So how do we tell history in an honest and inclusive and age-appropriate way? Is it possible to acknowledge the contributions of a person as well as their transgressions? Do we just not speak about the person again? Do we just erase their names from the history books? And going from the theme of the episode, Beyond the Single Leader, how can we ensure that we're telling more complete stories in the first place? How do we acknowledge the struggles of everyday working people, of the people who put their livelihoods on the line, of people taking extraordinary risk in incredibly ordinary ways? How do we honor the many examples of leadership we see in our communities, our families, our schools? And I ask these questions not having the answers to them, not fully anyway. As I read what I wrote about this, I think that in some ways this podcast is one of the ways that I try to honor the many examples of leadership that we see in our communities, families, schools, not just highlighting the kind of capital L leader or the people that feel comfortable with the label leader or that we associate typically with the label leader. I did talk with my Aunt Babs over the weekend, and she shared that the episode made her think about how to acknowledge the leaders in her community who don't fit that traditional leadership definition that gets recognized as such. And I appreciate that she's pondering that, and I am as well. So it's nice to be in that with her. I know I'm in good company. And, today's episode, it's just a little bit of a catch up. I'm going to aim to keep it short. I know I say that sometimes and I don't, but I think it's going to work this time. It's spring break here, and I've been able to put most of my work to the side, in large part because the big focus has been on welcoming a new addition to our family. Gus, a 1-year-old dog that's some sort of small, white, fluffy mix of, I don't know what, poodle, Maltese, terrier, maybe. We're not quite sure. We did get the DNA test, so we'll see. I'll let you know. But this is something Ellie has been working up to, and Initially, she's been asking for a dog since she was about 4 years old. Initially, I told her a teenager. I felt like having a dog during the teen years would be good, like a good companion, and, she could have that kind of connection, I think, during what is often there's the ups and downs of teenage years and family life as well. And then somehow she talked my partner, Renee, down to 10 years old. And as you heard in a few episodes ago, she recently turned 9. And so she ended up getting it down to like 9 and like less than 3 months. So 9 and a quarter. She has been working on showing that she's responsible, in particular, just showing that she can get ready and take care of the things she needs to do without a ton of reminders. And so she has shown that she has made a lot of improvement in that area. It's definitely made our mornings and evenings a lot more enjoyable when it comes to those kind of routines. And then I think once I finally am fully behind something, I'm like, okay, let's just do it. And I also had in my mind that spring break would be a great time. Like, I could dial my work back and she would be home, and that would just be a good time to bring a new dog in so we could, one, make sure that the dog gets attached to her and not me so much, because I am going to be the one who's home as much. I'm pretty sure there's already some of that going on, which is fine. I really like Gus. I like Gus a lot, and I'm a little surprised at how much I like him. I've never had a dog before. I've had some bad experiences with dogs. I have at least one scar from getting bitten by like a German Shepherd on my hand. Granted, I probably didn't make the best decision, but I was also a child. I'm pretty sure I pet a growling dog. Another time when I was walking home from school in high school, some crazy dog just ran down the street and started running at me, and I was walking with my boyfriend and one of his friends. I remember the dog just came and charged at us, and we all kind of like were running around in a little circle together, and the dog bit me really hard on the back of my leg. So I think those are some of the reasons why I've never really loved dogs. They also smell a little bit. They're kind of loud, depending. Okay, anyway. So all that said, beyond my reservations, I'm finding that I really like Gus, and he seems sweet and spunky, and we're already gonna start working with him on training, positive reinforcement training. Ellie and I, and maybe Renee, will go to a class on Friday night, and then we'll go from there. But so far it's good. We have a cat, and so right now there's baby gates up. It's like having a baby all over again. There's baby gates up, and so his main area is our living room, and then that gives our cat Twig like a clear path to her food in the kitchen, to our bedrooms. But she has been a lot more scarce lately because I know she's not thrilled. They did have one little meeting in the kitchen, but I think Gus was still pretty out of it, and he has a cone on his head, so I just don't think it really registered with him. But Twig was like, just hissed 3 times and then ran away. Anyway, if you have any tips on dog rearing, training, he's definitely not like house trained. we were told he knows Spanish, but it doesn't even seem like he knows any commands in Spanish, or he might, but he's not listening. And so, yeah, not house trained. We're taking him outside to go to the bathroom a lot, but he's not letting us know, of course, when he needs to go. I'm pretty sure he used like pee pads or something like that where he was. Yeah, it's all kind of the normal adjustment stuff. We have learned that it's like 3 days for them to start not being so anxious, 3 weeks to feel more at home, and then 3 months to be like fully adjusted on average. And I think people share that just to be like, to normalize that it takes time and it's a process. So that's where we're in, but so far so good. Ellie is thrilled, but also feeling the weight of the responsibility of caring for a living being. And I think I enjoy that she's experiencing that responsibility more concretely than she has in the past. Work-wise, it's not crazy busy, but it's good. Like, it's enough. I'm not complaining. But this month and like this time is definitely a time of more visibility, like more workshops with people, events, being interviewed for a podcast. So I have a workshop coming up on change management essentials. That's part of the City of Long Beach's Public Health Week conference. That's actually happening on the day that this episode comes out, for those of you who are listening in real time. On Saturday, April 11th, I'll be on a panel about podcasting called Podcasting Our Communities. It's with a few other podcast hosts. And it's, about, what we talk about, or like our different podcasts, but more so like how we got started, some of the tips and tricks and how we're thinking about things. So it should be cool. It's an interview, and then there will be time for audience Q&A. So it's a free event that's happening at Collage in San Pedro. If you're in the area, come check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. Oh, just saying San Pedro like that reminded me of this Instagram reel that talks about like a native Spanish speaker saying the names correctly, and then this totally clueless like white person being like, no, it's San Pedro. And they're like, San Pedro, And I actually put a comment like, if you just wait till he hear it, because the guy was like going crazy because the person was like, what was it? Los Feliz? And he's like, oh no, Las Feliz. So he was like just going crazy. But I put a comment like, well, just wait until you hear how some people in Long Beach say the streets Junipero, and Eximino or Jimeno. But for those not familiar, in Long Beach, there's a street called Junipero, which a lot of people say Junipero, but some like long time Long Beach people, folks I've known, have been white, and they say Juanapero. There's literally no A in the name. But anyway, I know I'm also not like the best at pronouncing names in Spanish, but it's just funny. Okay, that was a total tangent. Come out to San Pedro, to Collage. Next week, I'll be recording a podcast episode with Catherine Golub for her podcast, Conflict Decoded. I'm really excited. I've been listening to her podcast and I liked it. I connected with her on LinkedIn and she was like, oh, looks like we have some like overlapping interests. I'd love to talk with you. And so now we're going to do a podcast swap. She's going to interview me for her podcast. I'm interviewing her for mine. So I'm really excited to talk with her. And she in particular wants to interview me about what I've learned in coalition spaces over the years. So I'm excited for that. Mid-month, I'll also be speaking to a nonprofit board about board dynamics and leadership at their upcoming board retreat. And I'm also preparing a session on work and communication styles and productive conflict for another organization's staff team day. The change management essentials, the board dynamics and leadership, the work and communication styles, and productive conflict, they all kind of share a basis about understanding different work and communication styles and being able to flex and adapt your style. And so the basis that I use for that, or some of the framework I use for that, is the DISC assessment, the Everything DISC assessment. And that's DISC. And that stands for, there's 4 different kind of main work and communication styles or personality styles that this assessment looks at. And then it breaks it into even further into like combinations, a DI or an SC. And so there's actually 12 different combinations as well. And so you do the assessment. Not all of them will do the assessment, but I use that kind of as the framework to share about different ways of approaching these issues, whether it's change and the differing psychological needs around change, or work and communication styles, like communication preferences, how people navigate conflict. I'm excited to be using this framework in these different ways. And then behind the scenes, I'm doing organizational consulting and coaching and writing proposals for new work. So it's definitely keeping me busy. Meanwhile, I've been totally neglecting my email list and also not really sharing on LinkedIn, which is probably the most strategic place for me to share on social media. So I'm going to use this episode as accountability to at least write an email to my list before this episode drops. So that's a little bit about what's going on with me. I'd love to hear what is going on in your world. And I'm going to leave you with a poem which I come back to from time to time, and it just feels resonant right now. And it also, I don't know, I'm connecting it to spring, the political landscape, maybe the last few episodes I've done. So, can you guess what it is? Drum roll, please. It's Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. If you want to hear more of the Resourced and Resourceful Leadership Podcast, please follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. To support the show, please leave a 5-star review and share the show with a few people who you think would appreciate it. And please check out the link to SpeakPipe in the show notes. I'd love it if you left me a message about what stood out to you from the show or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes. Thanks again, and take good care.
Number 1. You can't really do that one. Number 2. Number 3. 7, last one. Which one is your favorite? Let us know.